You like clubbing? Of course you do. How about driving cars? Scratch that. I mean stealing cars. How about flipping off the digital version of Wholesome 100 Keanu Reeves' Big Chungus Reddit moment? Well, those are all valid dreams, and I'm not one to judge, I make game reviews, but Cyberpunk 2077, as you may well already know, is a first-person role-playing game that features some intense action, looting, and even more intense writing.
I gotta get to a Ripper, man! I can't! I can't! Hey! It's me! The guy who... you know.
The guy with the smoking crotch?
That's one way to put it.
It's set in the fictional independent Night City on the west coast of the USA. Basically, as much a fictional dystopia in the near future as affordable housing in LA nowadays. Everyone dreams of getting rich, yourself included, and that's exactly why you get stuck with a virus in your head that deletes your brain. Which brings me to the story. Regardless of the body type, genital type, or pronouns, your name is V. You get a choice from 3 different life paths right at the start of the game. This is also where you make your nails long and pink, only to find out that you can't change them later in the game. You're welcome for the view. These paths serve as your background, and each provides a different introduction to the game. They're also notable in certain dialogue options where you show, for example, your hatred for corporations as a street kid. After this intro, the game throws a montage that's supposed to show how you and Jackie became really good friends doing gigs together as mercenaries, but the only thing I got from it was that CDPR loves to edit cutscenes. A reoccurring theme in this game, together with Johnny spewing anti-Arasaka nonsense and death from random fall damage. Hopefully they've already patched the latter by the time this video is out. Dex, an OG fixer, has a job for you and Jackie, and a pretty big one at that. He wants you to steal an experimental chip from the Arasaka Tower, and after you do the prior quests to prepare for the big heist, it all goes wrong, and somehow the experimental chip that has Johnny Silverhand's personality construct on it ends up in your head, saving you from a bullet to the head, but also taking over your body little by little.
Fuck, it's good to be back.
Every main quest from that point onward is fixated on you trying to find a way to get rid of the chip without dying in the process, and the fact that Johnny died a domestic terrorist doesn't help your cause one bit.
Good to blow.
Side content is mostly fixer gigs, vehicle purchases, NCPD scanner hustles like reported crimes or suspected organized crime activities, or just random mishaps, which feel a lot like Bethesda's Radiant Quest, but with actual story and meaning and limited in number.
Running system diagnostics. Testing will take approximately 47 seconds. Bum bum be dum bum bum.
What are you doing?
I'm making the wait more pleasant with a soothing melody. Bum bum be dum bum bum be dum bum.
There are also the side quest chains given by special NPCs in the world, which usually progress a character's personal story or just improve the world building.
What now? Gonna plant a bomb in the club?
A bomb. Nah. Gotta talk to him.
Okay, good, because I thought...
Bring your heat.
I often felt like the side quests were probably the main focus of this game.
As for these chrome fucks, you think they got all this gear by sitting around going,
That's not to say the main questline was garbage, quite the contrary. In fact, as the plot, background, transmitted emotions, and length of the story were perfect. What I'm trying to say here is that if you skip the side quest in Cyberpunk 2077, there's a big chance you're missing out on half of the experience. The chip story is engrossing, and Johnny has an interesting personality and past, sure, but oh man, you're skipping a lot of fun if you don't do at least the romanceable NPC quests.
Another cog in the corporal machine.
And Night City looks are everything.
I would be wanking my cock.
And yet you only see your character's face in the mirror twice the entire game, or in the canon Japanese ending. Character customization. There's like 40 hairstyles, about 15 beard types, a pretty good bunch of eye collars, nose, mouth and ear shapes, and there's no way you haven't heard of Penis 2. You can change how the cyberware on your face looks too. All this, and yet you can't change a single aspect of your appearance later in the game. Neither can you make an extremely chunky unit of a V. Disappointed beyond measure, I assure you. Combat is fast-paced enough to the point where it might even trick a few people into thinking this isn't an RPG, but just an action game with skill points and a story. The main playstyles are going in loud and going in quiet. Whether you want to make noise through investing points on body to become a fist-bumping, shotgun and LMG-shooting, door-breaking merc, or improve your reflexes to become the ultimate weeaboo with the usage of pistols, rifles and bladed weapons. Close combat is always much more dangerous, but it also carries the potential of ending battles as soon as they begin. Cool and intelligence govern the stealth and quick hacking skills respectively. They're not as much mandatory as they are complementary for a stealthy run. Quick hacking lets you temporarily blind enemies, turn off security cameras, and wipe enemies' short memory to force them out of combat. Stealth perks help you stay hidden for longer and do more damage with silenced weapons. Lastly, there's the technical skill that you'd probably take after you quit college to replace your uncle's car engine, which in turn lets you deal more damage with technical and smart weapons and also unlocks higher tier crafting. Now, I've seen some pretty crazy crafted gear out there, so I most likely missed out on overpowered weapons by fully investing into becoming a weeb. Speaking of gear, since there's so much of it in Night City and since it acts like armor and is not purely visual, you'd look like someone who lives in a sewer drain and dresses out of the trash can when you equip the gear with the best stats. This ruined so many attempts at using the photo mode because I was improperly dressed for the occasion. Driving is good. V's first car drives like an excavator and the map is far too zoomed in for you to properly take turns in the city if you somehow manage to get your hands on a pair of faster wheels. The physics are alright though, unless you want to park somewhere. And most vehicles have acceptable, if not fun, handling. There are exceptions, however, but that's to be expected with price gaps so big between the worst and the best car. Only thing that I found jarring with the driving in Cyberpunk was the lack of driving AI. You could park your car 2 centimeters on the road and NPCs would still stop entirely and refuse to move an inch until you do. Oh, or this scene with Pan Am. Cops also suffer from a severe lack of AI in this game. Drive over too many people? Well, blow up without a single shot taken at you. Or maybe you'd like to commit genocide only to escape by running a couple hundred meters. NCPD has got your back. Cyberware implants are interesting, but I've never played DSX, so I have no way to compare this to anything. There's implants that help slow down time during combat, stuff that gives you extra HP, more quick hack RAM, or cyber deck slots for a higher variety in quick hacks. More iconic, however, are the Mantis blades, which you can unlock at a Ripper dock, and there's also the Gorilla Hands, the Monowire, and the projectile launch system for the same slot, and they each scale their damage with certain attributes. My favorite implants, however, were the leg ones, as they drastically improve mobility and exploration becomes more fun. With the help of the reinforced tendons, you can double jump and get to really high spots, out of trouble or into restricted areas more easily. Some rooftops lack certain physics or graphics, however. There are map limits, but they're understandable, as a lot of world objects that have full physics, which allow you to climb them for no reason, seem to compensate, and I can't think of any invisible walls other than the destroyed buildings in Pacifica and some hill in the Badlands that you can't climb. Speaking of the Badlands, it's one of the 7 districts in Night City. They each have their specific visuals in comparison to each other, their specific gangs, a different fixer, and different types of cars for sale. There's a lot of sounds in this game. Guns, melee weapons, explosions, stun grenades aren't what I'm focusing on, however, even if they do sound cream. Out of combat, the air is always filled with miscellaneous sounds that add to the ambience. Ads on loud TVs trying to sell you something, the traffic light lady saying walk or don't walk to pedestrians, AVs flying above your head, you get the idea. Oh, and don't get me started on the UI sounds, or this video will never end. I like the food and drink consume sound effects a lot though. Also, they made music for the game, but this usually concerns ambience, or when we talk about medieval or fantasy games, the original soundtrack that's usually epic and orchestral. Not only does this game have the ambient OST of 37 songs, but it also has composed music for the radios that would dodge copyright infringement. Not to mention the samurai songs, one of which you even get to play live with Johnny Skills, or the song that talks about Night City. All this, combined with the top-notch voice actors, does nothing but help immersiveness in the sense that Night City is a real place filled with real people and not AI. Moving on to graphics, this game looks amazing. Even on low specs, as long as you don't have DLSS turned on, it'll look far too good. I played most of my game on medium-low settings just to get that smooth 60 FPS, and some of my photo mode pictures still look fantastic. Facial expressions are hyper-realistic too, unless you get the bug that halts expressions entirely. Never before has slowing down just to relax, to look around, to take in your surroundings been as realistic as in Cyberpunk. Sitting by the campfire with the Aldecaldos while one of them is playing the guitar. Or sitting next to Kerry on the Zaefnyr, listening to him play a recently composed riff. I've never felt as relaxed in a video game until now. It goes without saying, I felt immersed without trying. course, the immersion gets shattered by bugs, which can deteriorate your experience, but they're not the point of this review. They'll get fixed in due time, I'm sure. Until then, let's raise a glass to the flying Porsche. That being said, things do tend to spawn in your line of sight and disappear outside of it, so immersion on the streets, be it as a pedestrian or a driver, might come pretty hard. No matter how much it got bashed for its bugs and glitches at launch, Cyberpunk 2077's epic scenes never fail to amaze. Take Johnny's Arasaka Tower memory for example. The music, together with the pistol reload animation, as bland and simple as it may sound, make up for real gamer adrenaline. The Joy Toy scenes? They're nothing compared to this shit, trust me. I'm giving Cyberpunk 2077 a 9 out of 10. Game's got its rough spots and bugs, sure, and sometimes it does get tedious and boring, but when it sets out to tell a story that you're willing to follow and listen to, you will always remain amazed. If you reach this point of the video without skipping, I salute you and invite you to subscribe for future content. Discord link is also down in the description, be sure to check that out. Thanks for watching and see you next time, chooms!